the history, or you didn't have, like in this case, the hand x-rays that showed you that this was a rheumatoid patient, there's nothing that would distinguish the two findings here from any of the other causes of the two findings here, okay? So in this case, we're dealing with a patient who has a lot of interstitial change, primarily on the base of the lung, and that's starting to get to that end stage where it would be appropriate to call that honeycomb, okay? So end stage of fibrotic disease, all right? You actually have some Curly's B lines here as well. Remember, Curly's B lines we always classically think of with congestive failure, but scarring, tumor can cause that as well. So when you have rheumatoid, and my understanding is you guys have a lot of rheumatoid stuff in the background, remember that rheumatoid, and really all the inflammatory diseases that we categorize as inflammatory arthritis, they all have as much or more visceral involvement as they do skeletal involvement. And rheumatoid classically has things go in and out of the lung fields. So those range from pleural effusions that come and go, to nodules that come and go, to cavitations that come and go, to the fibrotic disease, which usually stays. Okay? All right, once you're getting that scarring, the scarring stays. The scarring is all a reflection of chronic inflammation. Okay? I must tell you that when you start seeing things like this, really the last thing you think about is things like rheumatoid arthritis. Okay? Now, rheumatoid and ankylosing spondylitis both create any of the things we just talked about. And both of them tend to have this inflammatory scarring take place. This one's a little interesting because rheumatoid has a tendency to have that scarring higher in the lung field. Let me see. No, lower in the lung field, that is correct. And AS tends to be higher in the lung field, okay? And I always kind of remembered that because AS normally starts in the bottom of the spine and works its way up, whereas in the lung it tends to be at the top and works its way down. Okay, it's kind of the reverse, okay? All right. So this is just that honeycombing and the scarring here. Here's a bit of cephalization again. You guys call that the Viking hat sign routine, okay? Which is good. Why does this happen in this disease? Why would this happen here? What is the cephalization?
Where there's, they need more blood flow.
Correct. We normally don't have a lot of vascularization in the apices because we don't have a lot of air exchange. But if I've scarred over and destroyed a lot of the lower lung field, I have to count on getting the air exchange here so that wisdom we have inside grows those new vessels headward. Okay? All right, this also was a rheumatoid patient. It even says right on the jackets, if you were to read them, that in this case, short of the hands, you'd never know it was rheumatoid. This one says, that doesn't even say it's rheumatoid other than in the diagnosis. All it talks about is this. And what is that? A big cavity, okay, or hematocele or cavitation. This one has a fluid level, okay? When you have fluid levels are more common when there are tumors or infections, okay? But a cavitation is a cavitation. We've talked about that all quarter long. Now, one thing that is pretty good here is this one is thin-walled, right? And it's very regular, okay? So it's telling us it's more toward that benign side, okay? And the very last thing that I posted on there are the two drawings of the different patterns of cavitation. Hopefully that helps, okay? All right, so, you know, when it really comes down to it, the x-ray isn't the absolute answer. It gets you in the ballpark, okay? But you got to do a whole bunch of other testing to actually know what it's going to be, okay? All right, so you guys have another class after this, right? Yes? Okay. All right, so let's do this. How many stations we've got?